hope everyone can hear me. Hope everyone is doing well and excited for the sessions in the World Summit AI. I will start with basic introduction and then we will go through the presentation, which is basically a masterclass and a demo. My name is Akif. I'm a partner in PwC Middle East, focusing on the emerging tech. By heart, I'm a technologist, having 20 years of experience. I started my career as a developer, then moved to a solution architect, cloud architect, data scientist. Then I started founded a couple of startups. One was acquired by Apple, focusing on the edge ML and explainable AI. And now I'm back in consulting, working with PwC. I have written few research papers for Neurips as well as IEEE. Plus I'm active in the PwC thought leadership as well. Today we are going to cover the use of AI in asset lifecycle management. This is one of the sectors which has the biggest potential to use AI, but at the same time it is lagging in the adoption of AI. We will cover some of the challenges that the asset lifecycle management is facing, some of the use cases that are already in the market, the opportunities of using AI in the asset lifecycle, and finally we will build a demo together using the Gen AI, using an LLM on how to address one of the use cases. And we will end with that. I would like to have this session as an interactive, meaning if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. Hopefully there's a mic which can reach to you and you can ask me the question. I will also be asking the questions as well, so let's make it a two-way communication. Let's start with what is a typical asset lifecycle. Asset lifecycle, product lifecycle, they all are similar, which started with the planning, design, build, and then operate. When we talk about physical asset lifecycle, the infrastructure projects, when we talk about building the communities, when we talk about building the commercial assets, we can further expand this lifecycle into 5 stages. We usually start with strategy, which addresses this what and why. Means what we need to build and why we need to build that particular physical asset. What are the main objectives? What is the business plan behind it? What is the expected budget behind it? Then we address how we will address or we will achieve this one. So this is the master planning stage. And we also address where you want to achieve or build this physical asset. So in this case, you identify the sites, you focus on the plan on how you are going to achieve and build this physical asset, and you even create initial designs, pre-concept designs. After this, we go into a detailed design phase, which is just like the application development. If you are familiar with the software development, I can see many of them are from the technology companies here, where you start with an initial design, you get the approval on it, and then you go with a detailed design of the application. Once that is approved and once it is agreed, then you go on the build stage, which is the construction stage. Once the assets are built, you hand over these assets to the facility operators who are going to manage these assets. So the life cycle is simple, but if you see, this takes significant number of years. You may have built your own house, or you may have seen a house being built around you. You can see these projects take time, whether they are in the concept stage, whether they are in the design stage. Even at the concept and design, the approvals, the build, they all take time. The amount of waste, I am not saying amount of waste, but amount of overrun that you see in the physical asset build is significant. You will rarely see any physical infrastructure project complete in time. You will rarely see any community project complete in time. And when we talk about projects of this scale, they are not in thousands of dollars, they are usually in millions of dollars, or sometimes can reach to billions of dollars. Any delay has implication. These delays has implication on the total cost, which is in terms of labor cost as well as inflation of the assets or the material that is required. So they can have significant impact on the profitability of these projects. There are a number of inefficiencies in these projects, which can be addressed through the digital technologies. Whether we talk about initial business plan, whether we talk about the asset mix, whether we talk about the design review, These design reviews, they require significant documentation. When you are going for an asset, you need to build an asset brief, you need to issue RFP, you need to review the responses on the proposals, you need to review the master plan. These are 100 pages documents. So going through all this documentation or creation of this documentation or even working with the financial data, working with the designs that are 3D drawings, 2D drawings, is a significant time consuming activity where you spend significant time. Do we need to spend so much time on this? And any delay has a replicating effect there. Even in the construction, normally if you want to track the construction progress, you send the people, inspectors on site, who go, who review, who make a report on the site visit, sometimes take pictures. So there are a number of inefficiencies which can be addressed with the digitalization or digitization as well as automation and AI. Now, how AI can help in these challenges? You have already seen during the last 2-3 years a big boom, even before the LLM, on digital twin. Use of a single platform that can leverage unstructured data like documents, images, GIS data, satellite data, as well as the numerical or structured data that is coming from your P6, that is coming from your project construction tracking system, that is coming from your budgeting system, as well as invoicing system, providing a 360 holistic view to understand what is happening across your asset lifecycle. AI is a cherry on top of it. Now you have a big knowledge graph. You can use this AI to help you to better understand this one. Run these simulation scenarios to understand how will be the implication if there is a delay in the project or there is a certain design decision changes that needs to happen. So AI is getting infused in these activities and technologies. One thing that we have seen in the asset life cycle when we talk about capital projects is a fear. People fear that these AI adoption is going to make the people redundant. I just want to say that although LLMs, with the advancement of Gen AI and LLMs, there is a significant advancement or enhancement, but we are not at a place where we can say that AI can replace human. I think people with AI can replace the people without AI. There's a famous saying as well. So it goes the same in the asset life cycle as well. Like you need to learn how to use this AI to make or do your day-to-day tasks more efficiently, rather than being worried about being replaced with AI. Now, these are some of the typical use cases that we have seen across the asset lifecycle that are where we are already seeing the adoption of AI. If you start from the strategy phase, you can see the use of AI in the asset mix. You can see the use of AI in the feasibility study. Design generation. Traditionally, you ask an artist to come with a sketch. You go through the sketches, you review these sketches, you give the approval, they generate the rendering. This is a significant manual work where you have architects, renderers, designers involved. You can address all this with the use of AI, and which is already happening. I'm not going to go through all the use cases, these are just for illustration. We will go in the next few slides some of the typical use cases. And we will touch some of the products that are already there in the market, addressing these use cases or challenges. Starting with the planning and design, you may have heard about Zaha Hadid. Anyone has heard about Zaha Hadid? Okay, I can see if you have notes. So Zaha Hadid is one of the prestigious designers available, architects for asset lifecycle. Now, if you go, they also launched a product called LookX. This is an example where you can use basic sketches to generate a design. You don't need an architect and designer. Even if you have sketching yourself, you can do a sketch and see how it will look like when the asset is available. Imagine the amount of time saving and the cost saving it can provide you, where you can avoid so many iterations of the design before you feel comfortable. And these things are not new. Google released a model called Pix to Pix in 2018. Then NVIDIA enhanced it and they released Pix to Pix HD in 2020, 2021. There's a Bogdan version 1 and version 2 model from NVIDIA. These all are serving the same purposes. What these models need is your own data. If you have data, you can train your model where you can go and draw a sketch and that sketch can be converted into a design. You can try NVIDIA Canvas. It is available online free. You can download it, start drawing, making sketches. While you are sketching it, it can generate the landscape design for you, like this one. Now the one that is available online, it is from to create the landscape designs, not the asset designs. But if you have your own data, if you are a giga project, or if you are a builder who is sitting on so many designs, you can train these models on your data, and you don't need to focus on so much effort on the design iterations. You can use AI. Obviously, in the end, you need a human to review the design, make the approval, make the final amendments. But the initial iteration can be generated through AI, saving significant time. The two examples that we have, these are products available online. The other one is an online service which you can use to upload your sketches and it will generate it, which is a LookX, and the other one is NVIDIA Canvas. Okay, I did not click it, so it was not playing. But this is an example of LookX, where you can continue updating the sketch of the design online through the SaaS portal, and it will keep updating the design for you. You can also use it to generate renderings for you. So imagine the time of effort and energy. If you are building your dream house, you don't need to hire a designer. You can sketch it, generate the initial design, and you can take to the designer to do the internal planning. We will cover how you can use AI to generate the floor plans internally. You don't need again a designer. Again, I will emphasize, you still need a designer to make the final approval, but the initial savings can be done through this one. Now, if you see that with the emergence of LLM, I have seen multiple startups emerging during the last 2 years. Again, trying to utilize the capabilities of this Gen AI in the initial stages of the asset lifecycle, which is the asset mix, finding the right asset mix, doing due diligence with the documentation, reviewing the documentation against the compliance. One of the ones that you can come across is a permit portal through the Y Combinator. What they do is you can find the site that is most suitable for you based on your requirements. They have the data for North America, but the concept is simple. If you have the information about the different available sites, if you can make it available for your model, you can interact as a human and you can provide your own requirement. Find a site that has exposure to sunlight, for example, for 12 hours, not cloudy, above the sea level, this. You can give your requirement, and based on it, you can find a site that meets your requirements. This is an example on the first use case, where you give it your requirement and it is going to search it. This site is available, you can create an account and you can do it for North America. Sorry? It's permit portal. Similarly, due diligence. This is an example where if you want to do the due diligence for your own site, meaning you want to know the laws and regulations that are applicable if you want to build an asset in your specific area, what are these ones? Another example where you can either go to Google and search it, or you can use the AI, because just like ChatGPT, it can summarize the information for you. And another thing these applications can do is sentiment analysis. Meaning, depending on the locality, some locality you can see the approval process takes much less time because of the leniency of the regulators. In some areas can take significant time. So due diligence is an example where you can review the permit requirements, you can see the sentiment and decide whether it is a good investment to invest in a certain area, or you should look in the other areas. One of my favorites are asset mix optimization and floor plan. Because asset mix is a really good, important thing if you are building a community. Why is it an important thing? Because first of all, you want to maximize your investment. You want to see how many will be residential building, how many can be commercial building, what should be the typical capacity of these residential buildings or can sustain, keeping in mind the infrastructure that is already there. Keeping in mind your road network, your electricity, your gas, waste collection, all these things, you want to maximize your profit, at the same time make sure that the infrastructure can support it. Finding the right combination usually requires significant experience. Now you have products available in the market that you can use through AI, which can find you the right combination for your asset mix, which can give you the maximum benefit based on the KPI that you have set. As I covered, flow design generation. Now, if you are building an asset, you need to again have designers. Here you can define your KPIs, and it will generate a number of flow plans for you based on your requirement, and you can see which one works. These are not building products, these are different products, but my point is like these are the use cases that you can already address through the AI in the market. Construction progress monitoring. Again, I don't need to say this, there are applications available in the market that use AI in this sector, in this area for quite some time. Whether it is a linear construction progress monitoring, whether it is a vertical construction progress monitoring, you can use your mobile app. Just on your camera, go through the site, it will take the images, and based on this, it can generate a 3D model, which can give you a picture of the progress that has been made. Not only this, you can use it to compare against initial approved design, find the deviations from the design. So you can do it even at the construction stage level, and you don't need to be an inspector who knows every single bit to do it. As long as you can capture enough images for it to make a 3D model and do a comparison. Site safety, it is a very typical example of object detection. You can use cameras there on the site to identify the challenges and health and safety risks even before they become an issue for you. Now, going to the facility management is another important area. If you see the asset lifecycle, which we cover like 5 stages, facility management is the stage where assets spend most of the time. This is the area where you invest most of the cost, because if you are building an asset, it may take between 1 to 3 years unless you are building a giga project. But these assets, once they are functional, they will be there for 20, 30, 40 years. Operating them efficiently is important. Saving the cost on your maintenance, on the wear and tear, as well as providing the best experience to the tenant is the most important thing for you. AI is there to help you with this one. Whether it is intrusion detection, whether it is the energy efficiency by using smart lights, whether it is the maintaining of your pantry or your cleaning, making sure that the services are provided on time or before time rather than after this one. Can someone help with this screen? So people can help with this one. Like pantry refurbishment is an example. Sending the cleaners is an example. Optimizing the energy usage by switching on the light and switching off the light based on the occupancy. Finding the right temperature for the occupants based on the number of people who are on that floor. Switching off your light as soon as you leave the floor, rather than you have to do manually. These are typical AI use cases that we have seen within the facility management. Finally, the last topic that I want to cover in terms of use cases before jumping into the demo is the use of AI in insights. As I covered initially, like digital twin is there for now a few years, which are providing a single platform for you to see unstructured and structured data and be able to understand. Whether it is a GIS data, satellite data, imagery data, your financial data, your project progress monitoring data. But the one thing that I also like is with the LLMs, now you can talk to system. You don't need to create your reports and dashboards. You can ask questions for you to identify the projects. You can identify the projects that are delayed. You can find the projects that are above a certain threshold. You can ask how many rooms will be there, what is the occupancy of the room. So all these insights can be retrieved when you are talking to the system rather than trying to use the filters, trying to use the insights, trying to use the filters there or charts there. Even you can generate the chart dynamically for you. With this, I'm just going to take a pause here before I jump into the one use case which we are going to build ourselves. Are there any questions? Sorry?
No more.
Can someone get a mic? Sorry, I cannot. motivated here as well.
Hi. So my question is a very traditional question because from understanding of getting into AI, we earlier had these sensor-based technologies, PLCs, SCADA, and other things. So now we speak of a language of IoT and other things, and on top of which we are again applying this digital twin. So where the differentiation comes in, and where exactly is the point is the differentiation?
Okay, good question. When we talk about SCADA, PLC, these are the, I think, I will call it prerequisites for having AI in the facility management. Take an example. Previous traditionally, if you have a fire alarm, these are usually hardwired connections. These are not softwares. As soon as there is a smoke, it will trigger a fire alarm, which is a hardware trigger, not a software. Alarms will start beeping, you will evacuate the people, and the doors will be open. Now, where AI comes in? Now, when you have a fire alarm, maybe you don't want to react. Maybe you want to validate, is it a false alarm? Is it a kid who has broken the glass? Is it someone trying to smoke rather than actually causing a fire alarm? And you want to take action. Imagine that you have a knowledge graph, you have a CCTV camera in that room. Once you have a fire alarm, your system identifies that there is an alert in that room. Using the knowledge graph relationships, identifies any camera in that room. If there is a camera in that room, use the PTZ to tilt the camera and move the camera towards the smoke detector and zoom in to see whether there is a real smoke, and if there is a smoke, where is it coming from? Maybe there is a carbon monoxide sensor. It can also use to get the further readings. Based on this, it can decide whether it needs to really trigger the fire alarm or it needs to summon a security because someone has triggered it as a naughtiness or something like this, or whether it is a false alarm. So you can do these decisions using the AI. SCADA system will give you the alert. SCADA system will give you the ability to control the camera. It cannot give you the correlation. Knowledge graph will give you the correlations. And then AI will sit on top of the knowledge graph to make these predictions or make this analysis and give you the insights. Any more question?
First of all, thank you very much for the insightful presentation. We have seen some nice tools that can help many cities, companies, etc. I would like to ask you, in your own opinion, what is the biggest barrier that is stopping companies or cities to use such tools at the moment?
For me, it's a fear. Fear is two-sided. One is a fear that they are not accurate. They may give you the wrong result. This is the biggest fear. Secondly, is like, am I going to leak any information? Is it going to replace me? Kind of thing. Now, when we sit with the construction or design teams or DevCo teams, they spend significant time to create asset briefs when they get a project. They spend significant time to review the proposals, write line it, add the comments. If you tell them there is a technology, they will be so skeptical. Like normally, we need to try it out before being skeptical. We see that people are bad for skeptical, and we need to convince them that try it out, do a small POC, don't roll it out, just try for specific examples. You can get the result with that specific POC. It is not going to replace you, it will aid you, it will save your time. So in my opinion, there is a skepticism because people don't believe on this one. There's a fear because they may lose the job, there's a fear that it is not going to give the right result, maybe the team size will be reduced. So it can be any of these combinations. Now, for example, in Canada, they recently started a research project called Digital Twin for Canada, Canada Digital Twin. And they make it open source and they ask the entire community to build it. If you go to that website, you can find so many startups chipping in, providing a free marketing campaign for these startups. At the same time, they are building something at a national level, using all capabilities. We have Google team here. I was trying out that platform. They have Gemini. They are using Gemini for their LLM part. So you can see so many use of different services. Everyone chipping. Now, it can be used to a certain level, but when it comes to regulation, people will again start pushing back, feeling scared of something.
Thank you.
Any more question?
So if we are trying to implement AI in the asset management system, wouldn't that mean that you would require double layer of security? Like just in case there's like a, let's say we mentioned that we need to have an AI to detect if there's smoke caused due to someone smoking or is it an actual fire. What if a specific component isn't working during that process? So we should have another backend AI which is making sure that the AI in the first place is detecting appropriately. So that means we would need twice the technical expertise, right?
For me, we call it like reinforcement learning or human in the loop kind of thing. Like, as I mentioned, like, the AI can be used for initial assessments, reviews. But when we talk about mission critical system, like fire, or when we talk about proposal review, the final decision needs to be made by a human. Because if there's a fire, a real fire, and AI for some reason made a mistake, it has chaotic effect. It's like medical. If you go for the many of the equipments available in the for screening and testing, you see they already have an AI. If you use an X-ray machine, modern X-ray machine, when you take an X-ray, it will already detect your use AI to detect a number of diseases. By default, many of the X-ray machines. You can see it has given the probability that this person may have this disease, this disease, this disease. But the technician they will not tell you what is it. Because that report needs to go with, to a specialist to review and see if any of the predictions is correct or whether he needs to make his own observation or her own observation. So just like this one, there are areas. If something is mission critical, you may still want a human in the end to make the final decision based on the observations that AI is providing you. Whether it is a review, whether it is a correlation, whether it is a decision. If it is non-mission critical, then you can decide what is your threshold of acceptance. If you are willing to accept with a threshold of 10% margin, 5% margin, then yes. That's why I said that the NVIDIA he famously said, you cannot replace human with AI. But human with AI are going to replace human without AI.
Thank you.
If no more, okay.
What would you advise companies that are scared of the cybersecurity aspect of AI integration, of having data on foreign servers?
There are two parts. One is the concern of having the data on the foreign server, there is a regulation. Sometimes this comes as part of a regulation, so you cannot force them. If it is a regulation, you need to follow. AI can be deployed on your own servers, on your own premises, depending on the threshold you are willing to accept. Nowadays, there are so many techniques, whether pruning, distillation, that you can use quantization to reduce the errors, all large models to deploy on your local machine. Now, if they are okay for the compliance, just like any other system, any other data analytics system, you need to put checks using your cybersecurity best practices to make sure there is no data leak. In our opinion, there is no difference in having these checks of our data platform versus an AI platform. There is an element of security within the AI model itself. When you train it to make sure there is no bias, no one is launching an attack, to plot something within the model, these are different stories. But when we talk about the operations, in our opinion, it is the same as for any other data platform. If you are allowed to store your data in a file server. Okay, with this, we just want to go through a demo. Before we go to a demo, let me give you a context. And I'm going to cover some definitions before we start that demo. And that demo is an example where we want to use AI to validate your master plan, which are usually 120 pages documents containing the designs, containing your mobility information, networking information. You want to validate them against all the regional, national, or municipal regulations and building codes. I built that application with my son as a weekend project. I was teaching him, he said that I want to do something with agentic AI. I said, okay, let's spend 5-6 hours, we will build end-to-end application. And I will show you how it has simplified the entire life, the entire development through the many tools that are available. Before we go into this demo, there are some concepts that are important for our students. So I just want to quickly touch it, and then we will go through the demo. First is the word agentic AI or agents. Who has heard this term? Can anyone explain what is an agent? Any volunteers? Okay, no volunteers. So agents, like I call it, like we use it as an agentic AI. Like it is a form of AI. For me, agentic AI is an engineering discipline. It's not an AI discipline. It is using AI, but it is an engineering concept where you are building an agent that performs a specific, that takes care of tasks and activities in a specific domain. Consider a travel agent. When you want to make a booking, you go and talk to the travel agent. If you are working, for example, for Hajj or going for Hajj, you will ask an Hajj operator to book, make the arrangement for you. So who are these agents? The concept of agentic AI agents here is just like these terminologies, where there is someone on your behalf who is going to perform action, who knows the knowledge of that domain, and who has all the context. Based on the context, based on the knowledge, that person can autonomously perform the task on your behalf. So this person, now that agent can use AI, may not need to use AI. But this, like coming back, agents are there in the market in the technology terms for quite some years. They are not new. But they got the attention because now you can use these agents with the use of LLMs to understand what you want them to do, to evaluate the outcome and then perform these actions. So that has given a big boost to the agentic AI, but the concept of agents are there for quite some time. An autonomous system that can perform tasks on your behalf, can take the action, has the context, learn from the environment, learn from the additional data to improve itself. This is an example of, am I there? Okay, it comes. So this is an example of an agent where you have a customer support agent. That agent is responsible to perform all actions to support your customer. It can talk to or going to talk to multiple agents that are specialized in specific areas. Whether it is user experience for FAQs, issues resolution. So all these agents are specialized in certain areas. They have all sorts of tools that are required to perform their duties. In the world of LLM, they have all sorts of prompts that are important for them. And then they coordinate with each other. And then you have a coordinator agent which is going to work with them to orchestrate the entire process. And once that process has been orchestrated, it is going to perform the entire process for you. Imagine like if you have to generate a benchmark report for different systems. Normally you hire consultants like us. You don't need it. You can have a researcher agent really good in performing the research. You can have a report writer agent really good in generating the business communication. You can create a process which asks the researcher agent to do a market research. You can have a compiler agent to review the outcome of the research, and then you can have a report agent to generate the report. Once you have all this, you can use the same process again and again for multiple topics, and you can get a really nice report generated through this process. Another concept that we want to cover before the demo is the multimodal models. Traditionally, when ChatGPT came out 2 years ago, you can only use it for text. You can talk to it, it can respond you in text. But there was a limitation. If you want to talk to it, if you want to hear the response, in that case, you use text to speech and speech to text on top of this text. What about if you want to use the ChatGPT to generate the images? You will use Stable Diffusion or you will use DALL-Es to generate these images or mid-journeys. But again, like you have different models to do to help you in a different domains. What about if you can merge in a frontier model that can take care of whether it is image processing, whether it is understanding what you want through the voice and respond. This is multimodality, where you have a single model that understands all these and can use this one to respond to you or to talk to the different systems. Now with the knowledge of this, we are going to go through the use case that I mentioned. In this case, For a simple example, where I want to build a system that is going to review the master plan against the compliance, I define three agents. We will go through the code as well, just as at a high level. One agent responsible to do our market research. The other is a writer, and third is a project consultant. An agent who knows who has domain knowledge of the capital projects. We define our process, which is research all relevant regulations, create compliance checklists, review the master plan, and write the assessment. And just like any process, where you define a process, you allocate who is the persona responsible to perform that task. Where we define the researcher will do the initial research, you need to provide a set of tools. In our example, we will provide access to the Google search. And use Server API so you can go and search the content on the Google regarding what you want it to search for and provide a compile list. Then you can use a project consultant to summarize and create a checklist of the regulations and codes it needs to follow. It will assess your master plan against this one, and then it will hand it over to a writer. And writer will create a nice formatted report for you in the PDF as well as display how it is going to work. Now you can, if you want to do it, there are so many agentic frameworks available. Even the platforms are available which you can use to build your own agents. If you talk about the open source frameworks, you can try LangGraph, CrewAI, AutoGen, AutoGPT, even OpenAI, and so on. So you can try any of these frameworks to create your multi-agentic framework. In the demo, I'm using CrewAI, but you can use any. Now, before we go further, one important thing is like when I was teaching or creating this sample with my son, I want to make sure that I use a realistic master plan. I don't want to use some demo mocked up master plan. The real master plans usually have GIS data, as I mentioned initially. They have renderings, they have designs. You want to consider all of them when you evaluate them. So in this case, we found a sample online. You can search it. Like there are so many master plan projects available in North America and Europe because they have to publish it for community feedback if they are building a big project. So you can download and use it for the demo. For this purpose, I use one of them. You can find the same one in the GitHub repository that I will share later on. Now, let me just give you an example of the code, and then we will run it as well. Just bear with me. I need to switch the screen. Now, coming back, my son is not a developer, so I cannot expect him to write the code. And this was our father-son kind of a weekend project where I want to teach him the concept. Now, when we talk about these frameworks, you can use a designer, just like any low-code, no-code platform. Some of the platforms provide you a designer, or you can write it in YAML, which is set of the prompts. So it is more prompt engineering and defining the agents and tasks rather than anything. The code is very simple, that is mostly auto-generated. So we went through, we created the tasks and agents that we covered in a human readable format, more like human readable format, so that he can follow rather than writing the code. Now, once we were done with that thing, the other part is it will take care of the compliance, but it will be a backend. Sorry. We want to build this as an entire application from end to end. So meaning you need to have a front end, you need to have the APIs that can use the CrewAI and your LLMs, and then can generate the response in a nice, clean web interface as well as give you a PDF or some other format. Again, when I was working with my son, he does not know the development. There are so many tools nowadays available which can help you with this. You can go to V0, you can go to the webplate, you can go to the bot, you can go to these sites, and they can help you to even create the project structure, create the code just using the prompts. You tell it what you want to do, and it will give you the outcome that you are looking for. So in our case, we use V0, but you can use any of these tools. Now again, two things that I want to mention here. Although we expect that with the advancements of these tools, developers can be replaced. You can use them to develop the code. But my experience is like they significantly improve the time to reduce the time to develop the application, but they come with their flaws. They are still at the junior developer. Even in this case, when we built the app with my son, it was working fine in the cloud. When we downloaded it with the instructions, it's all working. So many issues. When you go to prompt, you tell it to fix one thing, it will generate 10 different issues, just like any other developer. So these applications significantly reduce your time that you need, but still you need a person to review, to fix, as a senior engineer, senior developer going through it and address these concerns. Now, to give you a context of how complicated that app, this is the architecture of the app. So we asked the app as a human to the V0 and these tools that I want to build an app with a nice fancy front end, with an API that is going to call my Python backend. Keep in mind, the model that I'm going to use can take significant time. So make sure that the app is still interactive for the user and does not hang. So I have to explain all this scenario just like a senior architect or developer to a junior developer what they need to do. But once I explain this to it, it generates the app with all these components. It generates an Next.js app. It generates the API layer through the fast AI. It understands that it needs to perform the tasks which are long-running. So it creates your message broker, it creates your queue management, so it takes care of all these things for you. So this is the magic, like you don't need to be a really sophisticated architect for this one. You can use AI to help you with the initial creation of the components in this case. With this, the app was ready. Let me just show you the app as well. Now, let me just give you a glimpse of the complexity of the app that it generated for me. You can see this is a React app, Next.js app, which is a React. It generated all the pages for me in this case. It generated a theme file because I said that I want to use PWC theme. So it knows how to what is the PWC theme. It went online, found the PWC colors. Using the PWC colors, it generated a theme file for me. It generated the API layer for me as well, which is here. And it also added the task scheduler Redis components for me within this. So even if you see the complexity of these apps, the API layer, it takes care of it for me. So I don't need to worry about it. But still, I would say that it was ready, I was not super happy because the app was ready in 3 hours. My son was excited, he downloaded it, started running, started trying to fix and start reading. Then I went back to the app, changed the prompt, still gave me the error, and then I took the help of the developer, asked my son that I cannot teach you, give me 1 hour to fix the app, to make it polished, and then we can come back. But normally developers require 5-6 days to develop such an app. So it significantly reduced the time for me to develop that app rather than waiting for 5 days. Now let's go to this app. This is an app that you can build using this tutorial within 1 day, which is impressive for me. Like you can create an app that can analyze entire master plan, which is usually long documents. So when I created the app, I said I want to use it for 4 countries. So it gave me these 4 countries, gave me the project title. I can upload the master plan. You can see it is a 7.3 MB file, so you can imagine it has so many images and renderings as well. And I will start. Once I started, let me show you the back. So you can see here the flow where different agents will try to do different tasks depending on the persona that I have defined. And then they will collaborate with each other. This is the magic of the agentic AI, where rather than human performing different tasks, you have your own autonomous agents performing these tasks. You have an evaluator who will see the outcome and based on the outcome provide a feedback to the agent that you have done a good job or not, revise your work. And then once it has revised your work, it will review again. Now, here you can see it is searching for all the regulations in Qatar. So it went to the Google, discover all these regulations, going through all these PDFs, and then based on this, it will create, compile a list of the checklists. So you can use it for any other country. I'm using the Wi-Fi, hopefully it will not let me down. It will continue working. Yeah. The checklist should be adoptable, so it has already created a checklist depending on the different points. Now it is going to review the checklist against the master plan. So these are the prompts. So you can see agents have this list of the prompts that it can use. It was not satisfied, so it went back again online, find all the compliance regulations. Once it is satisfied, then it will start comparing. Usually it takes 2 to 3 minutes to finish. While it is finishing, any questions here? I use V0. You can use Rapid, you can use the Bolt.neo. There are now so many tools available. You can create a free account, try it out. The free account gives you a specific number of requests. After that, you need to go for a paid account as well. Now, while I was answering, it has completed, it has generated a report, and now it is saving as a PDF. If I go back to the app itself, you can see it has completed the assessment, just like a proper report. It has the introduction, it has the review methodology that it used to assess. It lists all the related regulations that are being used, created a consolidated checklist of the requirements, and based on this, it comes with an outcome where it identifies that this master plan is compliant with these regulations, partially compliant, and the regulations with which it is not compliant, and even provide a suggestion. I'm not a project specialist, I'm not a construction or capital projects guy, I don't know any of these regulations. But with the right set of tools, we can build these apps within few hours. Obviously, not polished ones. If you want to polish it, requires some more effort, but it can reduce your time significantly on these activities. Like this, let me go back to the presentation. Finally, to close my presentation, I want to focus on the knowledge graphs in digital twin, multimodal models, and with the use of the agents, you will see a significant significant number of products that will come that can revolutionize this industry, which is the asset lifecycle. We need to start seeing the adoption. This is a bottleneck, but once we can overcome the adoption, the amount of inefficiencies that we have, they can be rectified with the use of these technologies. Knowledge graph is there for quite some time, where we can understand the relationship, whether in the facility management or in the strategy side, in the planning side, across the life cycle. But with graph neural network sitting on top of it and LLM providing you a layer which you can use to understand these relationships and take action, it will save our time significantly. That's it. Any questions? Final questions? And thank you everyone.